Yep.
Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. Bet Parks. 8-2, baby. And I said it before. Look, I know that was about as frustrating a first half as we're going to watch. And honestly, a lot of frustrating moments in that game. But I told you the Eagles win 3-0, and I would be ecstatic after it. And I'm ecstatic.
I thought about
and
that.
They really did quietly dominate that game. In reality, that last touchdown and 2-point was what it was. Shout out to Zach Ertz. But like, they should have been up 33-10 heading into that. I mean, the worst game in Jake Elliott's career as an Eagle, but they got it done when they needed to. And look, Saquon was amazing. Jalen made some big plays after a horrible first half. I think a lot of us thought that the story of the game was going to be like, wow, Jalen stunk. But per your thing, it might have been a great game. He certainly outplayed Jaden Daniels tonight in a clear way. But I'm going to start with this, Elliot. And again, first place in the NFC East, all that. But, we've hinted at it. We've talked about it. But the Eagles are a defense-led team first and foremost.
Yep.
The thing that we can count on the most right now with this football team is that badass defense that we saw tonight. This was a great Washington offense coming in tonight. Jalen Carter, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, lockdown. Like this, a Blankenship making plays, N'Kobe flying around. I mean, Sweat, BG, like everyone made plays. St. Nolan Smith, like Vic Fangio again with a great game plan. Like, we're gonna talk about it, but like I feel like we always start with Jalen or Saquon or Sirianni.
I agree.
Like,
with you, yeah.
Hell yeah, man! Defense is back in Philadelphia, baby.
And you know whose name you didn't mention there? I didn't hear Quinyon's name all night.
I said it.
Why?
I said it.
Yeah.
I said it there because, like,
did you? Okay.
Terry McLaurin was invisible.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it was literally like the fourth quarter. I'm sitting next to Tim McManus, and he goes, "Man, you haven't heard from Terry all night." And it's like, yeah, you're right. You haven't heard from him all night. I'm happy you started with the defense because you're right. Obviously, we lean offense on this pod, and we always start with Jalen or Nick. They're the head coach and the quarterback. But the story of this game is the defense. The reason this game was the domination it was because of the defense. And I know I'm hyperbolic. I love it about myself. I'm happy to do it. But, man, this really might be the best Eagles defense that I can remember watching. Like, the early 2000s defenses, were awesome. I was like 13 or 15. I don't like super remember that. But like they're better than the 2017 defense. They're better than the 2022 defense. They might be the best defense in the whole NFL. Like, how many points? I don't know. I mean,
they played some bad quarterbacks along the way.
But I'm just saying, they just played
they're so impressive, man. They're so impressive.
They just played arguably the number one offense in the NFL, certainly in that running. Last time they played what was the number one offense in the NFL was in New Orleans. They completely shut them down. I saw a stat, and I apologize who tweeted it. Prior to that trash Jaden Daniels touchdown at the end that really shouldn't count, they hadn't given up a passing touchdown in 6 games. Wow. 6 games hadn't given up a passing touchdown. They end up with 18 points allowed tonight. They really allowed 10. I know that 18 will count, but ultimately they allowed 10 points. They never gave Washington a shot. I mean, this
dude, exactly. Even at 12-10, it was like, you know what? Like, I know they're only going to give up a field goal at worst. Like, at worst.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. Like, if you want to think big picture, if you look in the NFC, what quarterback do you go and, like, there's no Mahomes in this conference. There's no Josh Allen. There's no Lamar. Like, this defense is very, very capable of going to any field against any quarterback in the NFC and shutting them down. Like, Jared Goff's a good quarterback. This defense can handle Jared Goff. Jordan Love's very inconsistent. They've already beat Jordan Love, and they didn't even play their best football against Jordan Love. I look at this defense, and look, the defensive line made some big plays. Nolan Smith.
They were great. Jalen Carter might have been the best player in the football game tonight. Like, he was amazing.
That hit by Zach Bond on Jaden Daniels on fourth down.
Dude.
It was one of the more, like, violent out-of-nowhere hits I've seen in a big play from
I mean, Zach Bond was, I know we've talked about him all year. He was literally all over the field. He was unbelievable.
Dude,
I mean,
the price goes up every week. The price goes up every week.
Man, and then the Kobe with that open field tackle of Jaden Daniels on that third down
Oh,
run
I'm
earlier
happy
in
you
the
brought
game.
that up. That was
Like,
a
what a
huge
play.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just play after play after play after play from this defense. And I'm so impressed. I mean, Vic Fangio obviously deserves a ton of credit as well. Like, week in, week out, seems to have a game plan that really works. And he's got these guys playing together. And you know what else? I know we talked about it last week, but they're having a blast together. I mean, they're like dancing with Reed Blankenship on the sidelines. They're doing all their celebrations. Like, there is vibes with this defense, Elliot, and obviously the team in general. But I honestly think, and that's why I led with it, I think the vibes on this team, the positivity on stuff, all stems from the defense.
Yeah, and look, like the vibes, like on the field are amazing, after the play are amazing, but like the true vibe with this defense, in my opinion,
is the way they play together.
Well, and it's just confidence. Like,
continuity and confidence. Like the way they play together and the confidence they play with.
The way they play, I think fans should have the utmost confidence in them. Like, this defense looks nothing like the one, for what it's worth, that gave up that long touchdown drive against the Falcons. I mean, look, the Eagles sit at 8-2. They should have beaten the Falcons. They could very easily be 9-1. The one game that they lost, they were missing arguably the three best players on the team. Although Quinyon,
and it was like a zillion degrees and all that.
Yeah, Quinyon's putting himself in.
Dude, I said it last week. I said he's probably been their best defensive player this year. Like,
yeah. I mean, look, on the defensive side of the ball, Jalen Carter, stud young player. Quinyon, stud young player. The Cooper DeJean had a really good game. I thought the call against him for pass interference
was nonsense. Really, the refs were bad. Yeah.
Yeah, the Devontae thing, I think when you watch the replays, look, I think they should have just kept the flag.
Well, so did you didn't have the benefit of the broadcast.
No,
I didn't realize it, but if they get in the ear hole, that counts as a face mask too. And when you looked at it again, he definitely got, like, they had Terry McCauley on the broadcast, and he was like, "That's absolutely a penalty. Like, you can't pick that flag up."
Like
so
it live. I mean,
it was. That was a bad job by them on that one, at least according to McCauley and all that, which was a small part of a disastrous broadcast. I mean, oh my God, it was so bad. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit are a flat out disaster.
Al Michaels,
like an all time. At one point, Kirk Herbstreit called Vic Fangio Vic Fangino. Wow, there was like so many things like that. Anyway,
by the way, I think Vic Fangio is taking a picture on the field with his family right now. So well-deserved picture.
Shout out to Vic.
Is indeed him. Look,
I wish the Phillies had done him justice in the playoffs.
You know what's funny? After every single press conference, when it ends, you guys probably don't hear it. He asks about the Phillies. Whether are they going to trade Bohm? Who are they going to get behind Harper?
Does he really?
He literally.
Does he really?
He only wants to talk Phillies.
I'm on high hopes, man.
Yeah, I bet he would. Honestly, if they weren't in the middle
in the off season, maybe we'll get him on. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, if they weren't in the middle of being the best team in the NFL, he probably would have time. But no, I mean, look, the defense, with that defense, this is their recipe for winning. Take care of the ball. Saquon will make enough.
Run the freaking ball. Yeah.
And the defense will dominate. And the scary thing to think is, again, the score.
And Jalen will make some plays with his legs, a couple throws, whatever.
Now, look, the score, like, it didn't feel like a domination, so I don't think the score, like, if you add the 7 points Jake Elliott missed, it ends up being 33-18. You could argue really 33-10. Like, there was a dominating aspect to this game. But I also think it would be a bit of a discredit to the defense to say it was a complete domination, just because this game was in question for a lot.
Totally.
I mean, they were losing at halftime. Like, they needed the defense to do every single thing that they did in this game. The final score
100%. The pressure was on.
Yeah, that final score ended up being bigger, and it really should have even been bigger. I mean, those two Saquon touchdowns come within 20 seconds of each other. But the defense held them in this game because the offense was not good. I mean, I think if you want to move to the offense now. Like,
yeah. Look, I think.
Rough game for Jalen.
Yeah, I thought Jalen was horrible for 3 quarters, came through with some big, honestly, his legs today were really the thing.
He was really bad throwing the ball.
Made some big runs, but you know what, again, like, and Saquon, they kept plugging away at it. I give them credit for continuing to run. I think they kind of forced the up the middle run a little bit at points in the game, but I appreciate that they stuck with it because obviously that ended up paying off over the course of the game. But yeah, Jalen was not good. But look, he did make some big throws. That throw to Goddard towards the end, the screen to Saquon. Like, there were a couple moments and a couple big plays. And to your point coming in, like, Jaden Daniels was awful.
Yeah, he was better than
awful
Jaden
tonight.
Daniels.
Like
He was better.
he was easily better than Jaden Daniels. But look, I agree. It was a bad night from the offense in general. It was a night where the defense carried them, but the defense were able to keep them in it, keep making stops to the point where Saquon was able to finally break through. And
Yeah.
you know, the offensive line, credit there too, especially in the run game. I mean, those guys did a really nice job. The game wall runs too at the end. We didn't talk about those. I mean, those were massive. I mean, that felt like a momentum thing there when Gainwell ripped off those back-to-back 14 yards and the 5 yards to get close.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it did feel like, again, we've known this for a while. This is a running football team, but look, it felt like it was just, and again, I think that games have, you know, the NFL week to week has a, you know, each game kind of a weird feel to it. And this did feel like kind of an old school NFC East. It was physical. I felt like there were so many pops on both sides.
Physical.
It was so physical. So my point being that I do
snap too.
Yes, my point being that Jalen wasn't great tonight. But like, you know, you're a QB win stat guy. And I think at the end of the day, like I told you, I would be happy with a 3-0 win. Like I am ecstatic with this win tonight.
Yeah, and look, I think you should feel that way. I think that the overarching feeling for this game should be the Eagles did not play their A game on offense. They played their A++ game on defense, and that obviously makes up a little bit for how they didn't play on offense. But for the most part, this team, I don't think looked the best version of themselves, and they still dominated what is clearly the second best team in the division, and I would say clearly one of the top 3 teams in the conference. So
3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, however you want to say it. Like they're one of the better teams in the conference. And to your point about feeling ecstatic, like I think it's important sometimes in these post-game pods we take a step back and think. Me and you, I was in Tampa. You were at home. They were 2-2. They just got boat raced by the Buccaneers. AJ was hurt. Devontae was hurt. Lane was hurt. I mean, this season was in serious peril, and I feel like I say this on every postgame pod, but I think it's so important to keep bringing up. Like, the job this group has done in rebounding, it like, explains why they win these games. That they were not good to start this game. Like, they were not in it. They didn't come out and bring their A game. But it didn't matter. Like, the 2023 team loses this game, right? We've seen Eagles teams that lose this game. This is one of the more resilient bunches I have covered. Like, nothing phases them. And I think that comes from Jalen, for what it's worth. If we want to talk about leadership and, like, impact on the team, like, Jalen's ability to be completely not rattled by anything going on, absolutely, I think has a impact on the team. And you watch this game tonight and you watch from where they were. They've won 6 straight games. I mean, think about where they were. They were 2-2. Me and you, there was talks of firing Sirianni after a win. They've won 6 straight games. I think they belong right up there with the Detroit Lions. Like, we can, if you want to give the Lions number 1 in the power rankings, fine.
I think Lions should be number 1, but the Eagles are clear number 2 of the bullet. Like, there's a gap between the Lions and the Eagles and everyone else right now, I think.
Yeah, and I think the gap between the Lions and the Eagles is smaller than the gap between the Lions and
I would
Eagles
agree with
whoever
that.
you want to put 3.
I would agree.
So I just think tonight was such a big boy win. Like, and it wasn't even their best game. And you're right that
it wasn't close to it.
It wasn't close to it. Like, now their defense was awesome. The running game was obviously very good. And dude, Saquon, man, like,
just what a stud.
So the first touchdown run he had, they put these dumb things in the windows, like, so sometimes I can't see in the middle of the play, which is certainly a fun experience for watching the game. But on the first touchdown he made it look so easy. That angle but the angle to get to the pylon was not a super easy angle. Like, his ability to, like, keep full speed but also look like in complete control of his speed is so impressive. The second touchdown he got, like, his burst is unbelievable for a guy his size. And we've talked about it since training camp. And, you know, I first got a chance to look at him. Like, he's just a physical specimen. I mean, look, David Gettleman was right. He was touched by the hand of God. I don't know what to say. Like, that dude is a special player. And it makes all the difference in the world. Like, if they had DeAndre Swift tonight, they probably don't win that game. Right? So like, having Saquon, having all these guys. I mean, look, Grant Calcaterra.
Hero. Honestly, that was arguably among the most important plays of the game. Because that throw was a big play too. Just the first down itself was big, but for Calcaterra to dive on that,
I didn't think it was a great throw by Jalen to Dallas.
I think it was good enough. It was good enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, he was able to keep running. He was fine. And again, to this point, like, I think that Jalen. Look, Saquon was clearly the MVP of the offense, but again, it took Saquon a while to get going. Like, Saquon had, they said it. I think at one point he had like 22 carries for 70-something yards. Like, he was, you know, plugging along. And again, credit to Sirianni and Kellen for saying, and I don't think They had a great game play calling, but I credit them for sticking with it. But look, I think also, Jalen, again, I don't think he was good. He was, overall, you wouldn't grade it as a great performance, but to your point, I think there is something incredibly, incredibly important about someone who can play like crap for 2.5 quarters and then turn it on and make like 4 or 5 massive plays to help his team win a football game at the end. And I think that has to, because Jalen Daniels didn't do that. And I think that you have to give Jalen credit for that. And again, one other thing we haven't mentioned 15 minutes into this, no turnovers.
Well,
again, and honestly, none that were even close. So,
no, well, and look,
and he took a beating on some of those hits too.
It looked
like I really thought he had a concussion.
I did.
He got his head slammed in the ground, and he got hit on the flea flicker too.
Yeah. So look, I obviously trust the doctors. Clearly, didn't have a concussion. But he looked like he got a concussion and was playing incredibly poor, I thought, in the first half. To your point, though, about the turnovers. So I do think the rewatch of this game will not be kind for Jalen. Like, I do think there were a lot of guys open.
It felt like that even on the TV copy.
But here's the thing. What we said going into this was, like, I said I didn't need Jalen to be, 400 yards, whatever. Jaden Daniels made the big mistake. Like, there was a clear point where this game turned, and it was after the Eagles scored a touchdown. Washington has the ball. Blankenship makes the interception. Terrible throw by Jaden Daniels.
And Reed baited him. They talked about on the broadcast. Like, Reed clearly watched his eyes, saw it was coming, and was able to break at the last minute when he needed to and make the play.
And the Eagles score, I think, on the next play. Like, those 2 touchdowns came within 20 seconds. The game went from this is very much in balance to this is completely over. So, look, Jalen didn't make the mistake. Jaden Daniels did. So I gave Jalen a C- on the report card. I'm kind of regretting that a little. I feel like I should have done a B-.
I think it was like, I was about to say C+ B- type game.
I feel a little bad.
That's where I would go.
But whatever. But like, no, I think to your point, no turnovers, won the game. I just think there were so many more plays that to be made. And that kind of goes to what I think is like, they looked like the clear better team on the field tonight. Like, not all the plays were made on offense, but I think the difference is there were plays to be made there on offense. It felt
they drove all night.
They drove all night. I mean, and look, we haven't got to the Jake Elliott thing.
I'm going to get there. Don't worry. I'm going to get there.
Okay, I'm ready to get there if you are.
Okay, so how concerned are you? So I have one more thing after that, but how concerned are you? That was going to be one of my last 2 things. Because again, I said it before, like, bar none, the worst game he's ever had in his Eagle. Elliott.
So I think actually the, caller, Go Birds family member of the week, Drew from Westchester, put it perfectly. He said, like, he's happy that this is going to end as just a footnote and not the reason they lost. And I think that does really matter for Jake's confidence. Like, had they lost this game, I think a big story all week would have been Jake. And I think that it's going to really help, like, him get out of whatever funk he's in with all the attention not being on him. So the fact that they win this game and win it by what they do, I think matters. I would also say, like, with Jake Elliott, I don't know what to say. Like, he just has to kick the ball and make it. Like, I'm sure he's being coached to kick it correctly. He obviously knows how to kick the football. He's made huge kicks in his career. I'll say, as a 2-time media field goal champion winner that's also named Elliott, sometimes you just get the yips, right? Like, it happens. You have bad days. On the field goal competition I shanked my first one. Like, you just never know. So I think with Jake Elliott, it's actually pretty simple and terrifying at the same time. They have to just keep letting him kick.
Without a doubt. I mean, they paid him.
I would keep coaching the same. Like, I would keep, if I was Nick, up until like the end of a close game where you maybe really have to make a call, I would keep making decisions as if Jake is making all his kicks. Like,
I agree with you. He's earned the benefit of the doubt at this point with his career. Again, he has been an absolute stud for this team in the biggest of spots, literally in the Super Bowl among many years after. But look, kickers lose it at a certain point too. And who knows? I mean, look, like Justin Tucker is not the best kicker in football anymore, right? Like, that ended, so we'll see what happens. But, certainly a concern moving forward. All right, last thing. I know you got to go to the locker room and the press conference and all that, but I just, I'll carry the torch again. 19 minutes in, you refuse to acknowledge it. I think, another feather in the cap for Nick Sirianni. His team came out ready to play yet again. They fight. They're motivated. And again, they struggle, but they're resilient. And to your point before, I think Jalen deserves a ton of credit for that resiliency. But I think Sirianni and his messaging and the togetherness and the connectivity and all that's part of it too. So, I know you're fighting it, but I think Nick Sirianni's proven everyone he's a damn good coach, Elliot.
Here's the thing.
Get on board, buddy. Get on board. 19 minutes into the postgame pod.
The thing that hurts me the most is you just belong on Sirianni Island so much. Like you are.
I'm like swimming. I'm swimming. It's pretty damn good right now.
Me and Drew will decide if you are allowed on the island. But just know we want you there. Here's what I would say about Nick quickly before we wrap this up. Like, I think everyone's lying to themselves if they don't think he should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Like he started.
Great take.
He started the year. How many other head coaches start the year on the hot seat, are 8-2, and aren't in the conversation for Coach of the Year?
I don't know if Sean McDermott's in the conversation, but he's the only one who's kind of in that.
Look, I'm not saying he should win it. I'm saying that if you name the 5 best coaching jobs in the NFL this year, Nick has to be mentioned. Like they're 8-2. They were 2-2. They completely rebounded. They changed the offense midstream. They just beat the best team in the NFL, or best
NFC East.
Yeah, whatever. Right. And look, Vic Fangio is a huge
Ellie going full hyperbole.
Yeah, I know. And look, Vic Fangio is a big part of this. But guess what? The other head coaches, I don't hear Ben Johnson be brought up when people discredit why Dan Campbell should be in it. I don't hear Cliff Kingsbury discrediting why Dan Quinn should be in it. Yes, he has good assistant coaches. Other head coaches have good assistant head coaches. So if you want to take this fight with me, it will really help your chances of getting on the island. That's all I'll say.
Look, I'm with you. I don't think there's any question. I think you should absolutely be in the Coach of the Year. And honestly,
I'll pass this on to Drew and see how it impacts.
Yeah, I think I don't really know who I would pick over him. Andy, I think Harbaugh,
it would be
maybe.
Dan Quinn, but Dan Quinn just lost. So.
I think Tomlin deserves to be in the
there.
discussion. Yeah. Our guy, Mike Tomlin. I think Sirianni's absolutely up there. So consider me a proponent of this thing.
How crazy is it that they're now 8-2?
I know.
It's unbelievable.
Let's go.
And they're so good too. It's not like they're a fluky 8-2.
They didn't even play that great tonight, and they really dominated that football game.
Also, Washington, not to discredit the Eagles, Washington definitely not a playoff contender. They're
going to make the playoffs, but
I know. But I'm saying
the Eagles are way better. The Eagles are a way more talented team. I agree.
Going to Washington's not scary. So huge game for them. Look, beat the Rams next week, and then we can all just party in Baltimore. And who cares if they win that game?
Yeah,
go to LA, beat the Rams, and then we'll party in Baltimore.
Yeah, it was weird even looking down at the screen. It was 7-2 versus 7-3 with Washington. It just felt weird for them to be good.
Crazy.
All right, we'll be back later in the week getting you set. I guess weekend off. How about that? And then not really, actually, Saturday, 1-3. Yeah. Check us out. Parks, obviously call and react to the win, and then we'll be back next week. And go down to the locker room. Until then, 8-2, NFC's first place. Let's go. He's Item Jam.